maybe let's branch off into what's hot right now, right? There's a discussion around AI agents, or I hate the term, but I've heard it called agentic AI, which I kind of struggle with because I don't think it's like a whole new class of AI. I think it's an implementation philosophy more than a new type of AI. Um, but what are the key differences in your mind between an AI agent and an AI assistant? And what extra benefits do you think agents provide to organizations over and above the tremendous value that AI assistants are already starting to deliver?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first off, Colin, you didn't identify or define how you see them as different, but I suspect we agree. I'll try and define it and see if you agree with this. So in my mind, AI assistants produce output based on specific prompts, right? They're call and response kind of things, and of course they're leveraging LLMs and such in the back, and maybe RAGs and all kinds of pre-processing and you know, specifically trained models and things like that. Whereas agentic AI or agents, folks define it as being more autonomous, right? Having a higher degree of autonomy. Is that how you would define the terms?
Yeah, I think broadly, I think there's also an autonomous. Well, autonomous is one aspect, but I think the other is maybe context, right? That it's not the agents; they kind of lose context very often as soon as you stop that particular prompt, and then the next prompt is you're almost starting from scratch, right? And
Mm-hmm.
agents supposedly, right,
Mm-hmm.
will maintain more context, which they would have to if they're going to be running autonomously or doing tasks in the background, right? So,
Yep. 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 And yeah, that's pretty much how I would identify them as well. And I would say that, from my perspective, it's really powerful to have both of them. I don't really see them as having a bright line dividing them, frankly. I suspect what people are getting at when they broach the topic is just how surface level is your AI capability, right? They're almost kind of grading you. You get an A if
mm,
you at least know what an agent is, and have implemented something along those lines, and you get a B otherwise. Um, I at Seek we wind up taking the approach of trying to really nail whatever it is we're doing, regardless of what label we slap on it, right? And so autonomy can be a very, very powerful thing. It can also be kind of a scary thing for our customer base, right? We're not talking about an app on your phone here. We're talking about systems that are powering our modern way of life. And a lot of times, even though Seek doesn't get into safety critical things, there's real safety and risk involved here in the manufacturing and industrial space. So we do have to be careful with how wild our ambitions get when it comes to AI, but I don't think that diminishes at all the value that it brings users. And so for me, I think to some degree, I somewhat reject the framing of the this or that, and try and just look at, okay, great, we've got artificial intelligence, we've got machine learning, we've got amazing connectivity to data that has been stored for decades, and we've got huge amounts of data, more than we ever have. And what we're really struggling with is the ability to digest it all. It seems like if you put all that together in one blender and you really focus on and Seek is proof of this. We've seen massive amounts of insights that have led directly to profits and yields and decreased downtime, and all the good things that we're trying to strive for the benefit of efficiency as humanity, but also just the benefit of sustainability and being able to do more with less.
yeah, I think you raised some interesting points there. The probably where I've seen the most progress on agents is actually when I've been talking with supply chain vendors who have been using various forms of AI, like many of us in the industrial sector, for decades. And it's really almost a a new label, as you put it, right, for something they've been doing for many years in terms of
Mm-hmm.
having something that monitors, and maybe it was an object in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm even hearing discussions of the granularity of agents, right? Like the granularity of objects from a couple of decades ago, right? So, but performing, when I talk with the supply chain guys, I think they're really grabbing onto the agents label because it's something they kind of been doing for a while, and they can sell, right, or promote
Mm-hmm.
that idea that they have agents monitoring certain supply chain activities, and then
Mm-hmm.
they can coordinate them and orchestrate them um, to whatever degree of human in loop or closed loop that makes sense for a particular supply chain problem. So,
Mm-hmm.
having said that, I mean, do you have anything that you would label as an agent today, or do you have something that you've identified that does fit more of that idea of an agent than a chatbot, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I would say that if I was compelled into it, I would put our existing capabilities as somewhere in the gray space between the two.
Okay.
If I was it definitely exceeds what I think most people consider to be just an assistant, and it can, our current offering can interact with our whole product platform capabilities. So it can do tasks on your behalf, but those tasks are things that you ask it to do. It's not going out and doing things and creating stuff on its own. However, the rest of our platform capabilities do have significant monitoring by exception capabilities, as you're talking about with your supply chain example there. And so the generative AI piece is really acting on the user's behalf as more of an assistant at its current state. Our entire AI pipeline, like you said, I, I define AI as encompassing generative AI and machine learning. And if you agree with me, then we do have AI, machine learning, that is purpose built to monitor by exception, along with the other modeling capabilities that Seek has, whether they're first principles or empirical or machine learning or inevitably some combination of those three. That is very much autonomous, very much monitoring by exception. That's where we really need to go as a company, as an industry, right? We don't need humans spending their time reviewing routine boilerplate stuff where most of the time it's going really, really well. That's just a waste of everybody's time and attention and effort. But I will say that we are, and I don't want to spill my colleagues' candy for later in our roadmap, early next year, where you'll hear us talk a lot more about capabilities in our generative AI capabilities that cheat much more firmly towards agentic AI, and it largely goes around empowering users to have a much broader scope than they ordinarily would. So being able to do things at big scale, to be able to ask broad questions that you must have had some sort of anticipation of those questions being asked, or the need for those to even begin answering them. Things like what went wrong in my plant yesterday, or have it be able to alert you when something goes wrong in your plant, and have some pre-filtering that it's not just a false alarm, or that a storm of alerts that come from one minor malfunction in some arcane area of the plant.